I just want to say thank you guys for supporting this. As far as city council and city, management goes in general, I think it's a good idea in theory, but that's really going after the small things. We are Berkeley students, and we need to be addressing student affairs. We need to be addressing the cut in student education, because the humanities are suffering because we have no private corporations funding the humanities, and the departments that are being funded are being privatized and being dictated to by BP. We need to go after the big fish, like doubling underrepresented minorities. This is a California institution, and we need to protect the students that are here. No more UC deportations. We need to make sure our schools look like California, and we need to make sure we provide people the opportunities to be self-sufficient. How are we supposed to provide the opportunity to be self-sufficient if a racist Republican California decides to ban affirmative action? Right. We need to be addressing the big things, guys. There are national issues that are affecting us that no other candidate is addressing. Where's the immigration reform? There are immigration students here that are contributing to the body of academia. The very nature of academia is diverse interaction with ideas. And how are we supposed to, contribute to a mass body of knowledge to... Open Pedro, guys.
Go Smith, sir!
Hi, my name is Spencer Pitcher, and I'm running for External Affairs Vice President with Cal ASUC, Cal Students for Equal Rights and Adult Education. So Measure R was a significant step toward greater student representation in city government. However, we cannot call only 1/8 of city council true representation. As EAP, I'll make sure that we advocate for 2 city council districts to be directly accountable to students, because we are a fourth of the city, not an eighth. So as such, we need to ensure that 2 city council districts are accountable. Furthermore, why are we only focusing the conversation around city council? There's a whole citywide government out there. There's the rent board, the school board, and over 30 commissions that we can get students appointed to right now. Why aren't we talking about that? As the AP, I will create a comprehensive plan to ensure that all city council members appoint students to the commissions. It is important for student representation on commissions to address issues that pertain to students on this campus and in the city, such as revitalization of Telegraph, such as campus safety on South Side and North Side, because the most amount of crimes happen in the campus area. So as the AP, I will ensure that maps get passed because we do need representation. However, we need to go beyond that. We need to ensure that students are represented as a whole. Furthermore, as students, another issue that students address is unaffordable housing, and the rent board is a really big body that students can affect. Why are we talking about that? We used to have 3 students on the rent board who were directly accountable and advocated for more affordable housing. Now we continue to see our housing prices go up. We're not talking about the other parts in city council and city government that can directly benefit students. Thank you.
I got involved with the Berkeley Student District campaign last year when I served as an ASUC senator. Former EAP Joey Freeman brought it to the Senate and brought it to us because it's addressing a really important issue. Right now, students have no voice on the City Council. The City Council is 8 people who have the power to legislate on affordable housing, lighting in our neighborhoods, accessible parking, issues that are incredibly important to students, but right now we have 0 say on. In fact, the last time that we actually had a student on the City Council was 1992. So that was 20 years ago. And what we need a student on the City Council to right now one student on the city council is because it's the map that works best for the community. Ideally, I would love to have 2 students on the city council. Students do compose 25% of the city of Berkeley. But what is feasible to happen right now is get 1 student on the council who can advocate for student issues. A student who walks and talks with students. A student who understands what student issues are, and a student who understands how to advocate that to the council. But meanwhile, we can't stop there. While advocating to ensure that there's a student that sits on the city council, I want to work to institutionalize a program that I started last year as a senator. I started the Local Affairs Working Group, which puts student leaders in the same room as the mayor of the city of Berkeley, advocating for student issues. Beyond that, I want to increase the amount of permanent internship positions we have in the city of Berkeley. I want students to be sitting on commissions, advocating their voices in the economic development of Berkeley. I want student voices to be heard, and the 2-step process that needs to be worked on is 1, advocating for student representation in commissions and internships, and 2, getting a student on the city council so that our voices are finally heard.
In order to build off the success of Prop 30, we need to start creating coalitions with the UCSA and other community organizations that are already advocating for real reform in California. We need to work with community organizations such as California Calls and Evolve to ensure that we are fixing our broken system and further pushing student or higher education reform. We need to prioritize higher education in the state. Also, we need more than just a candidate with ASUC experience. We need a mobilizer, we need a coalition builder, we need an organizer in the EAVP office to ensure that we're not only lobbying the state legislature, but lobbying them with power. That means organizing students to have one coherent message. I have that experience. I worked on statewide issues, on statewide organizations with CalPERT. I worked on national campaigns, urging Congress to advocate for more affordable education. Furthermore, I worked on the Prop 30 campaign. I worked on the statewide coalition, or I worked on statewide issues such as Prop 30 with the student region. I already have experience organizing students. I've even registered students to vote with CalPERT. So not only have I lobbied, not only have I organized, but I worked on a statewide level, on local level, and a national level. And that's what you need as an EAVP, not just an institutional person that does not advocate, does not engage students, does not push students to engage in issues external to them. Thank you.
So with the city council, the next step would be advocating for the map of the student district to pass, and then running a campaign for a student to ensure that they can eventually take the city council seat, which would be a multi-year process. Woo! Sure. So with regards to funding for our education, this year as deputy of the Vote Coalition, you probably saw me out on the prowl, mobilizing, working with coalitions, working to register 8,571 students to vote on this campus. Coalitions on campus. I'm including CalPERT to ensure that students on this campus were 1, registered to vote, and 2, educated about what issues were relevant to ensuring that our funding was restored. What we need to do is a 2-step process. 1, register every single student on this campus who is eligible to vote. So that way Sacramento, so that way DC, sees us as a community of interest. If we can prove that we are 37,000 voters who will hold our elected officials accountable, Sacramento and DC will have no choice but to listen to us. Furthermore, I want to lobby for reform of Prop 13. It's time to not only look towards band-aid solutions that temporarily fund our education, but instead to completely refund our education, so that students are no longer footing the bill of our education, and so we restore the public mission of the UC. That is access, that is affordability for students. I've been to Sacramento, I've organized students, I've organized buses to Sacramento. I've knocked on the doors of legislators and told them that students are a community of interest. This past summer, I interned for Senator Feinstein in DC. I interned for her as an education policy intern, and I got the breathtaking view of students walking into her office, telling her that students matter, and having her listen. I know what it takes to make students a community of interest. I know what it looks like to lobby our legislators so that they listen, and I will not rest until students get the education that is affordable and accessible that they need.
early success showed that the student vote is very influential in large numbers. Despite its passage, however, funding problems remain for the UC. How do you plan to use your office to effectively lobby legislators, and what specific measures should students push for in the Senate?
All right, guys. Let's just get this straight. Berkeley does not exist in its own vote. We, or I, as External Affairs Vice President, believe that we should be lobbying with the K through 12. We should be lobbying with the community colleges, the CSU system, and the UC-wide system. We need to be sending 10,000, 20,000 students to Washington, D.C. We need to be sending them to Sacramento to show them that our education is the future. Our education is the key to a capable, to a self-sustaining society, and that we live in the 7th largest economy in the world. You cannot tell us that there is not education money, there's not education funding for us. It's a question of priority, and we need to make our voices heard. We need to be the ones that are mobilizing, and quite contrary to these two, sorry, I'll give you guys another minute to rebuttal. I have not seen these guys on campus prior to, these last election days. Our table has been in front of office this entire time, way before, campaigning, and we marched in Oakland to reform immigration rights on April 1st. April 10th, we're going to Washington, D.C. for that very same cause. And we're partnering with the University of Michigan, Los Angeles schools, and various other institutions because we are establishing solidarity. We have the connections, and we need to be making our voices heard. We need to be making our voices heard we need to be making our voices heard for education, and we also need to be protecting our free speech. These UC regions, these are administrations, not one of them has been on Lower Stroud trying to rally, trying to gain some mass direct action for our cause. We need to take our voices back, and we need to make sure that these lobbyists and these politicians hear our voice, because we are students, we are capable, and we have the power. We need to take it back.
So to hit on Pedro's point real quick, if you just go to a few Daily Cal articles in the past, you'll see that I've been on Sprout plenty of times. I told students about how subsidized staff loans increases may happen, and I secured thousands of dollars for each student to ensure that doesn't. It's about millions of students in the nation. Furthermore, we need to be advocating for specific issues like the California Modernization and Economic Development Act. That is an issue we can campaign on right now to increase more funding towards higher education. Furthermore, as the AP, I'll ensure that UCSA has a bigger presence on this campus. Right now, when I ask them to vote, do they know about UCSA? 99% of them, I called it, 99% of them say they do not. And so I want to make sure UCSA, the biggest student lobbying power, that a statewide coalition, has a presence on this campus so we can build bigger lobbying power and build bigger organizing power, because we can't do just one without the other. Without lobbying, you have no power. If you just organize it, don't lobby, you don't get your decision makers.
Just in response to the point about experience, this past March, I organized the buses that send students to Sacramento in a coalition with students from UCSA, from UC's, the other 9 UC campuses, to march on Sacramento and let them know that our voices would be heard with regards to public funding for higher education. Beyond that, last year we stopped a $100 million trigger cut from happening to our education because, again, we sent students, I went with students to DC, to the desks of elected officials in Sacramento, demanding that they listen to student voices. As far as being on Sprout, this past fall, as the deputy of the Vote Coalition, my voice was hoarse, yelling at students to 1, register to vote, much like it is now. 1, register to vote. 2, educate themselves about Prop 30, about Measure R, and about how we can refund our education. Day after day, we spent building coalitions, working after hours off Sprout Plaza, understanding what students need to really understand the issues that are at stake when it comes to higher education.